Ajit, who will give us a bit of a background on what this series of webinars is all about, this being the first in a series of many that's to come. And he will also give us an account of who has come together to make this possible. Ajit, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much to everyone to have joined here. We actually came into this idea of hosting a webinar series during earlier this year in May, when we were a few organizations, we met at the GIVOPA Congress at Bonn. And the idea of having a space for water utility to exchange and tell their stories of going through sanitation journey would be a nice thing to have. So that's how we came into the idea. Okay, the first thing that we could do is to host a few webinars on this topic. And that's where the sort of birth of this concept kind of came into place. And now we are here at the first webinar of the series. Yeah, my name is Ajit Edatut. I work with the Global Water Operator Partnerships Alliance, which is a part of the UN Habitat family. And I'm also a part of the Susanna family, the Sustainable Water Sanitation Alliance, as a co-lead for working group number 10, which works on operation maintenance and sustainable services. Can we have the slides up? I'm not sure if Alex is still trying to fix up, but even if it's there, I don't need the slide for the start. It's okay. I just wanted to brief upon and introduce all the different organizers who've been a part of this initiative. So apart from GIVOPA and Susanna, we also have the support from the AFWASA, the African Water and Sanitation Association. Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the slide. We also have the support from the Fecal Sludge Management Alliance, as well as the Waterworks, which is a partnership of public water operators from Netherlands, and also from ACOFED, which is the International Federation for Private Water Operators. And last but not the least, we have immense support from the GIZ as well. So I would like to thank all of these co-conveners, especially naming out a few people. We have Stefan here. We also have Simon, Pepine, and we've had so much discussions over the last month. So I would like to acknowledge every one of them who've been contributing to this effort. And here we are at the first webinar out of the series, where we plan to facilitate the exchange of knowledge, experiences, as well as lessons learned among water operators across Africa, showcasing this diversity of case studies. And we're here at the first one with the cities of Nakuru and Malindi. And now I hand over to our moderator, Shaibe, who's leading the Susanna Africa chapter. Over to you, Shaibe.
Thank you very much, Ajit, and thank you for that very comprehensive introduction. And it's a pleasure for me to be part of this first series, specifically as a co-coordinator of the Susanna Africa chapter. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Africa chapter, it is a chapter that is based here in Africa. It's led by Serene Malik, who's based out of Kenya, and I work alongside her as a co-coordinator of this Africa chapter. We are spearheading knowledge management on the African continent from the Susanna point of view, and also spearheading engagement on the African continent, particularly around knowledge sharing, around best practices and experiences, but as well as activities in the sector that resonate with the Susanna members as a whole. That said, it's my honor to open up to the two speakers that we have today and introduce them briefly. We have with us Zaituni Kanenje from Nakuru Water and Sanitation Services Company. And she will be the first to begin the presentation, sharing experiences from the Nakuru Water situation, on how, you know, Nakuru Water has transitioned to be a utility that is spearheading transformatory change on sanitation services. And they have put this in their core mission to ensure that water and sanitation are available to all their service recipients. But also, then we will also hear a little bit about what has motivated them to take upon this service in the sanitation and FSM sector. And then through their testimonies, we also hope to learn what progress has been made, what challenges have been faced, and where they intend to go going forward. The audience that we're looking at for this webinar are the technicians, managers, wastewater utilities, regulators, local and national authorities, government agencies, NGOs, so you name it. Everybody is really welcome to be part of these conversations. And so I will invite Zaituni to give her a little bit more in-depth intro and then give us her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chaiwe, and all the organizers for this webinar. And thank you for giving us, as the Kenyan team, an opportunity to share our challenges and experiences in sanitation, and especially for the utilities. I am Zaituni Kanenje. I work for Nakuru Water and Sanitation Company as a low-income areas manager. And I am delighted to share our experiences today because I working in the low-income areas, I have come to realize that there are so many challenges and there's very little focus from the government and all other.
You have muted, please. Can you unmute Zaituni?
Zaituni, I think you're muted for some reason.
Yes, am I?
You're back now. Thanks.
Yes, I don't know where I was, or was I muted from the beginning?
No, for the past
no,
10 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I was just saying that having worked in the low-income areas for over 10 years now, ensuring that people in the informal settlement have both water and sanitation services, I noted that sanitation has really been left behind. And I am delighted to share with you so far as Nakuru Water and Sanitation Company what we have done and what we intend to do in future, ensuring that we bring sanitation at a level whereby everyone recognizes that it is a responsibility for us all. Alex, I can't see my first slide well, where I had, yes. Thank you. So that is about Nakuru Water, the first slide. Within our area of service as Nakuru Water and Sanitation Company, we have a population of about 552,000 people, and whereby out of this population, only 29% is served by sewer. That tells us that the 71% population that is left, and you realize that most of this population is actually in the informal or low-income areas, is served by other options and other on-site sanitation options. That is either pit latrines, improved pit latrines, sanitation tanks, leach pits, septics, or in some cases we also have a bit of urine diversion toilets. And with that, in Nakuru City, we have come up with, as WASH partners, to ensure that this is a shared understanding among decision makers so that together we can be able to bridge the sanitation gap. So for the journey that we have walked through as Nakuru Water, it is not just about Nakuru Water, but through the county government of Nakuru, we've been able to bring together all the WASH partners in the county to support the initiative. Next slide, please. Alex, next slide. So as you can see in the informal settlements, on the left, that is where we have, that is the typical informal settlement of Nakuru. And on your right, you can see we have, that is where we talk about a rapid population growth and service inequalities. You realize that when it comes to service provision, there is that tendency of focusing in the high income or middle income while forgetting about places like informal settlement, whereby there is a lot of challenges when it comes to service provision and especially on sanitation. Next slide. So this slide, I know most of you might be aware of might be aware of the excavator flow diagram. As you look at that excavator flow diagram, you realize that it is only about 28 or 29% of the population that is served by sewers. So that tells us that there is a gap. And even when they are being served by sewers, you realize that only about between 15 to 17% gets into the treatment plant and is safely treated. That tells us that almost more than 80% of the sewer, more than 80% of fecal matter goes back to the environment. And that is why, as Nakuru Water, we thought of what else can we be able to do now that the larger population of Nakuru County is not excreta is not safely managed. Next slide. Yes, and I just want to share some of the challenges when it comes to inclusive urban sanitation in our county. And the biggest challenge is they actually rotate around the 4 areas, that is governance, financial, technical, institutional, and rapid urbanization. On governance, we have limited political will, weak policy regulations, and inadequate public participation, whereby, especially when it comes to sanitation services, there must be public participation, which is even at the community level. Then on rapid urbanization, you realize there is a lot of urbanization, many people moving into the city without really taking into consideration about services, the basic services like sanitation. And in my previous slide, you were able to see like a pictorial of how service inequalities is, because most of the people come to the city, reside in the low income areas, while sanitation services is not well planned. Then we also have a challenge at institutional level, whereby unclear mandates, responsibilities, and accountability mechanisms, who does what and who is responsible for what. Then and our other biggest challenge is technical, whereby we have inadequate technical capacity focusing on infrastructure. For example, what kind of infrastructures are required where, especially in the informal settlement where the population is quite high, we realize that water service is a challenge, and the type of sanitation systems in those areas is also a challenge. Then we also have a limited scaling up of resource recovery, especially after collection, transportation and disposal. What next? We, as Nakuru Water, we are looking at from containment to reuse. We are no longer advocating for safe disposal, because we realize that we want that fecal sludge can be converted into monetary and still be taken back to the communities. Then we also have a challenge, especially on financial, whereby there is limited commitment to investing in sanitation, because usually you realize that as much as we say sanitation is supposed to be a responsibility at household level, the largest population, as mentioned, is residing in the informal settlement, whereby their daily income is very low. So investing in improved sanitation has always been a challenge. And that is why, as Nakuru Water, we've come up to partner with other WASH actors in the county to be able to support, to be able to improve sanitation within our area of service. Next slide. And through that, as mentioned, the biggest challenge with sanitation is financing. And as a company, we realize that water and sanitation company or water utilities are supposed to be cost recovery. We are not in for profit making. So we have come up with different financing model for sanitation, and we have been able to work that out throughout the sanitation value chain. And we've had, like for example, at household level, we are actually doing a lot of sanitation marketing so that to engage people, to engage the household, to be able to invest in improved sanitation at household level. And through that, we are supporting them to come up with the affordable, like for example, the low cost material for construction of toilets. Through the utility, we work directly with the county government in that we make it easy for the household to get the designs and plans to construct their toilets. And we work very closely with the public health and the community health volunteers, whom we also incentivize to be able to market sanitation. Then through the government donor subsidies at containment, we have worked with quite a number of partners. For example, the Water Sector Fund has been very supportive when it comes to upscaling basic sanitation. We have a program called Upscaling Basic Sanitation for the Urban Poor that supports construction of toilets, that is at containment level. We also have finishing and also WhatsApp, water and sanitation for the urban poor, whom we have been able to partner with as a utility to support the household to be able to construct a standard sanitation system. And with that, we are able to provide the household with different designs and the costs. The cost that they will incur in constructing the toilet facilities. And through other programs, we also give a bit of subsidy to support the poor household in constructing their toilets. This subsidy is not meant to help for this person to construct a toilet, but just to motivate them to invest in a proper toilet, because we realize that even the subsidy that we give does not meet all the cost of constructing the toilets. Then before I talk about the tariff adjustment, I want to talk about the partner support on innovations. We have worked with quite a number of partners like the Vitens International through the Waterworks program, whereby we have come up with a number of innovation equipments for pit emptying, transportation, and safe disposal, which I will be able to explain in my other slides. And also, as Nakuru Water, as mentioned, we are not only about safe disposal, but now we are getting into reuse since 2018, which I'll be able to explain. Then most importantly is about sustainability. As a company, we are looking at, we have been able to adjust our tariff so that we can be able to take care of the on-site sanitation, because we also noticed and we have also realized and discussed with our, being able to have a public participation with our customers, so that for them to be able to understand that even if you are on sewer, you have a sewer connection and live in the high end or middle end, still sanitation is our responsibility, and it cuts across the chain, because usually you'll find that the high income end is also next to the high income end, there is also a slum or an informal settlement. So through that, we were able to carry out a willingness to pay study with support from the WhatsApp, water and sanitation for the urban poor. And through that, our customers or our beneficiaries are willing to pay a little bit more so that we can be able to provide on-site sanitation services within our area of service. And with this, we are working very closely with the regulator, that is Water Services Regulatory Board, so that we have a tariff specifically for sanitation that cuts across. Even those in the high end can be able to pay a little bit higher to cater for the cost of on-site sanitation services. Next slide, please. And In this slide, I just want to demonstrate what has been there, what was there earlier on, and currently what we are doing as Nakuru Water. As you can see on your right, we have very poor sanitation systems. And you can also see how pit emptying was being done manually, then how disposal was being done. As Nakuru Water, we are trying to change this narrative. Through our partners, we are trying to come up with actually proper containment. We have been able to construct over 20,000 toilets in the low income areas. And we have also been able to come up with different emptying technologies. Because as you can see, the kind of on my slides, the kind of photos that you can be able to see, actually they pose a challenge even to the persons who are doing the work. And normally these informal pit emptiers, they used to do this work at night. And when they are doing it, they don't even care about their health and the environment and all that. Look at the kind of disposal that was happening by then. And after we did our study, we realized that usually the landlords do not really care about where the disposal where the sludge will be taken. And most of the time, whenever the toilet is filled up, they could open the side of the toilet and let all the fecal matter just run into the open. Apart from that, some of them could empty or bury the fecal sludge in a pit, either within the plot or outside the plot. And some of them could also dispose in the sewer, in our sewer lines. And also some of them, after emptying, it is just like the landlord do not really care where it is taken, so it can easily go into. It easily used to go into the environment. Next slide. As mentioned, as Nakuru Water through our partners, these are the kind of sanitation systems that we have been able to promote. And as I said, we have constructed over 20,000 toilets through the Waterworks program, WSTF, WhatsApp, and finishing. And in our designs, we encourage the emptying. As you can see on your right, behind, we have the emptying chamber, in that whenever the toilet is filled up, it is easier to empty. And through that, it is not just about construction of toilet, but we also do a lot of hygiene promotion and sensitization on the proper ways of using the toilets. Next slide. These are some of the technologies that we have been able to evolve over time. You can see the two photos. This is the Galpa, which we were able to pilot like I think about 8 years ago. And since then, we have been improving over time. And right now, we are not even using the Galpa and the Rama that was developed by that time, but we have more improved equipment. However, when you look at this type of technology, as compared to in the first slide, whereby initially the informal pit emptiers were going directly into the toilet to do the emptying, but at least in this phase, they are able to use the Galpa to pump sludge out of the toilet. But as mentioned, we have been able to move from this model to a more improved emptying system. And for this, as compared to the earlier on, whereby they were doing manually with the buckets, this helps, especially when it comes to making the workload a bit easier, because somebody is not getting into the toilet, but they are able just to pump. And also when it comes to solid waste removal, because especially for the pit latrine, the biggest challenge that we have is removal of solid waste. With the Galpa, we were able to pump out the solid waste, some of the solid waste that can easily get through the pump. Next slide, please. As mentioned, these are the technologies that we are now using in Nakuru. We were able to pilot the mechanical desludging unit way back. I think it was way back in 2019. in 2019. With the mechanical dislodging unit, this equipment is able to penetrate through the informal settlement where even the roads are narrowed. And you can see we also have what we call the primary collection, collection point. So the manual emptiers, now the formal manual emptiers, are able to pump sludge into the mechanical dislodging unit. Then with this, it is easier to transport to the primary collection point. This has worked very well in the informal settlement or the low-income areas of Nakuru because in some of the areas, the exhauster or this truck cannot be able to get in, but for the mechanical dislodging unit, it is much easier. So after pumping sludge into the tank, it is taken, it is filled, it is taken to fill the primary collection point. And for this, we are able to serve about 2 or 3 plots a day, or with one trip. With one trip, we are able to serve about 2 or 3 plots. On the right, you can see a more modern emptying equipment, which is the poo-poo pump. The poo-poo pump was also, this is an equipment that we were able to acquire from Practica. And we have been using the poo-poo pump since 2020 to date. And with the poo-poo pump, we also connect this with the primary collection point, of which with this, as you can see, our manual emptiers are now formalized. We were able to formalize 3 groups within our area of service, whom the equipment are with the utilities, but we engage the manual pit emptiers who are registered. Next slide. Yeah, these are the developments that we've had so far. As you can see, our manual pit emptiers are well equipped, are vaccinated, and the equipment that are using right now are not like what was being used before. We cannot say that we have been able to engage all the manual pit emptiers. We still have those who are doing pit emptying informally, but we are together with the County Department of Health. We are trying to bring them together, have them registered, have them equipped with proper equipment, and be able to engage them formally to carry out the pit emptying exercise. So all these equipment are with the utility, are fully owned by the utility, but we are working on how best now. We are looking at the best engagement that we can have with the private, between the private entrepreneurs, that is the pit emptiers, and the utilities. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, for Nakuru, we are looking at from containment to not self-disposal, but reuse. So in 2018, Nakuru Water was able to establish a subsidiary company, that is NAWASCO, that does reuse of fecal matter. So currently we are producing two products. That is the briquettes used for cooking, and we also have the seed balls for tree planting. So as mentioned, the NAWASCO is a subsidiary company that is fully owned by Nakuru Water and Sanitation Company that works together with the company to close the sanitation chain. Thank you. Thank you, Chawe. Back to you.
Thank you, Zaituni, and thank you for also sticking to time. I popped up a little bit there to just remind you of that, but well done, well use of time, and a beautiful presentation. We appreciate the depth. I think I had a few questions as well during the process that you answered very nicely. So what we're going to do is we are going to save the questions for the end. I'm sure the room is buzzing with a lot of thoughts and ideas and, you know, questions and responses and things like that. So we will save that towards the end after the second presenter has finalized. So I will introduce our second presentation for the day. We are joined by Priscilla Olucho. rather, Oluoch, pardon me, Priscilla, who's the head of Sanitation Services, Malindi Water and Sewerage Company Limited. And she will, in a similar manner, give us an account of what progress Malindi Water has made in the sanitation service, and also challenges, as well as take backs, as well as lessons learned. And I invite her to give a bit more in terms of intro on what she has done over the years, and also how she works within Malindi Water. Priscilla, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Iwe. Thank you for joining, and thank you to all the participants who have joined today. And thank you, Zaituni, also for setting the pace. My presentation will be almost similar to what Zaituni is doing. Zaituni and Nakuru Water have been in this space longer than Malindi Water. Malindi Water has been Malindi Water and Sewerage for many years, since inception in 2004. But it's until recently that we joined the sanitation space. If you can see here, our mandate is to provide adequate quality water and sanitation services to our customers in the most efficient and affordable way. But for many years, we've been covering water. If you can see, water coverage is just about 72%, actually going 80%, with serving a population of slightly above 500,000 people with zero sewer coverage. Of course, we know there are quite a number of interventions that are being done in sanitation, but we've not been able to account for that. So we looked at what is the challenge. We are in Malindi. Malindi is a tourist town, and we recognize that environmental tourism is a driving force for our economy, and therefore we couldn't risk polluting the environment. So in this case, we looked at what kind of plans have been there. In the past, we've had the wastewater master plan, which we realized was only going to cover about 35% of the population, and mainly the residents who were able to access sewer lines. And the huge population was left out. That is why we came up with a citywide inclusive sanitation plan to ensure that we cover everyone. And what we started with, we looked at the urban centers within our area of operation. This is basically Malindi town and Watamu. So we started looking at about 300 residents out of the 500,000 people. So what were observations? We did the sheet flow diagram, which cuts across what kind of interventions or what is the situation analysis that we did, what is the situation currently, from containment, emptying, transportation, and treatment. Of that time, we had little data, but it was able to give us a picture of what is happening on the ground. And we realized just about 1% of waste is safely managed. These are offsite sanitation facilities, and these are hotels who have got their own treatment systems. And normally at the end, they do recycling. And then the ones, about 24% of the waste is safely contained in the septic tanks, and it can also be safely emptied and transported, because we have some modern way of transportation, the exhausters, but we do not have a designated treatment plant. So what we realized is that we are not able to, we captured that as unsafely managed at the treatment, but at containment, it is safe. So what is this? Malindi, about 75% of waste is not safely managed. About 5% of this is open defecation, and 70%, either it's not safely contained, not safely emptied, not safely transported, and also not safely treated. So that's the situation that we are in, hoping to turn the diagram green with the various interventions that we are working on. Moving on, Malindi Water created the citywide inclusive sanitation plan. We didn't do this alone. We did this together with our other partners. You can see we have the county government, the national government, water and sanitation for the urban poor, Sanitation, who brought in quite a number of other actors, Border and Earwag, and the World Bank also to support in the infrastructure development. So we have a $95 million plan. In the county government, we looked at what departments have some touch of sanitation. We realized that sanitation in the country is domiciled in the Ministry of Health, and just recently it was moved to the Ministry of Water, where the water companies are. So a lot has been happening in the Ministry of Health, but very little in the Ministry of Water, because the ones who have moved, progress in sanitation or sewerage is just the utilities that have got sewer lines, and the utilities that rely on on-site sanitation, like Malindi Water, have made very little progress. So we did our plan and involved all the stakeholders. We started mapping all the stakeholders who can add value, who can help us identify what solutions we can help us mitigate the challenges that we encountered. So our plan is $95 million. We've embraced the blended financing model, having funds coming from different sources. The biggest source, of course, coming from the government of Kenya and the development banks, where we can access loans or grants from the development banks. And a small component, about 9%, from product sales. As Zaituni talked about, their system is to look at reuse. We're also looking at the same hours we'll be doing briquettes for industrial use. And another component coming from the sanitation surcharge, we're also developing a sanitation development fee where households are able to contribute towards sanitation interventions. A small percentage also coming from sewerage tariffs when we eventually do sewer, and user fees and product sales. We're doing some ablution blocks, so they will be user to pay model. So some little revenue will also be coming from there, and also from the sale of briquettes. This will also feed into the investment. So what are our challenges? Our challenges, we looked at what is there, what is happening at containment. About over 60% of the waste of the toilets are not emptyable. So we looked at how can we already start working with the households. And as I clearly mentioned, most households do not prioritize construction of toilets. It's not a priority. People look at what maybe water, roads, security, lighting, and other areas of basic needs. But on sanitation issues, it comes about fourth or fifth or sixth, or not even thought about. So we have to support the households to do good toilets that are emptyable. So in the end, we have good quality sludge getting to the fecal sludge treatment plants, and also we get away the fecal sludge away from the sites. Because here, in Malindi, what we do is when a pit is filled up, normally the emptiers dig an adjacent pit, and it is emptied at night. So for the transient populations, we are working with other funders. We have the Water Sector Trust Fund, who's helping us to do 2 ablution blocks, and the World Bank under the Water and Sanitation Development Project, we have 10 ablution blocks, and then about 1,000 toilets also with other partners. As Zaituni already mentioned, APSAP, the Upscaling Basic Sanitation for the Urban Poor. We have also the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Program, the WhatsApp under the unknown funding, and any other partners who can come in. All of them having different models of supporting the households. Of course, some could be having, like KISIP has got 100% subsidy, but for sustainability and ownership, normally we insist the beneficiaries have to contribute. So the beneficiaries here are contributing about 6 to 7%. In the APSAP, the subsidy is quite low, but all the different support, the households comes with different models depending on the principles coming from the financier, but of course supported by Malindi Water. So on the waste collection, we have, as Zaituni already put it, we have different ways of emptying, but here we rely heavily on manual pit emptiers who are not regulated, who empty at night under the distance of some substance. Without PPEs, they are not properly trained, they are not properly vaccinated, and these were our findings. And this was quite a health hazard. So what we looked at is how can we improve on this? And we realized that most of the emptiers were hiding from regulation. So we couldn't even get 1 or 2 even to help us walk around and see what is being done. But when we started talking to them that we need to
Priscilla, sorry to pause you for a second there. Your mic is muted, so you might have to unmute it. Sorry about that. We take you back about 5 seconds, really. 5 seconds ago.
The slide
the
on
experience
waste
of
collection was clear?
Exactly, it was clear.
Thank you. So I can move to what we are doing to professionalize the emptiers. Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. So this slide is showing how we are improving in waste collection and professionalizing emptying. So we identified about 3 manual pit emptiers whom we started working with under the Unilever project. This was Transform Challenge project that we applied for together with Southern Water in Zambia. And basically what we are doing here, we are trialing different methods of emptying, together working with the manual pit emptiers, finding out what works for them, how would they wish to be regularized, how would they wish to be professionalized. And we started equipping them, exposing them, breaking that, that barrier with them, between them and the public health officials who regulate them. And we brought in the public health officials actually to conduct the training, to conduct the vaccinations on them and show them that what we are doing is good and we just need to professionalize it. So we've realized, and we actually certified them. So we realized that many MTs now are registering to wanting to be regulated and to be professionalized, which is something good because we are going to rely on pit emptying for a long time in Malindi water because we still do not have the high-end MTs or the business enterprises who are actually working with exhausters. So on treatment and reuse, I'll just play a video here as I speak through this. We do not have a designated dumping site for fecal matter. And what we have is it's an old quarry where all the solid waste is dumped alongside the fecal matter, whatever is got from the pits. And this is quite a health hazard because it's a whole mix. We have people living here, the ones who work on the solid waste, and this is not the correct way to do it. So as Malindi Water, we are working very hard, constructing 2 fecal sludge treatment plants. In my next slide, we are doing 2 fecal sludge treatment plants to decommission the existing dumping site. And the 2 fecal sludge treatment plants, one has got a capacity of about 25 cubic meter of waste per day. This is one of the satellite towns in Watamu, where we shall be having a dewatering package, basically to separate the liquids and solids. Then we shall treat the liquids on site and take away the solids to be treated in the Malindi plant, which has got about 93 cubic meter of waste per day, to convert the solids into briquettes. So in the end, it's to close the loop. And this is funding from the World Bank. And we are working with other partners that we have to help us come up with arrangements on how to operationalize these plants. Should we actually, the entire service chain, do we bring in the private sector to come and operate that because we don't have a capacity? So what has helped us achieve this is that Malindi Water has got a dedicated sanitation function, actually a department that I had, to on a daily basis think about what needs to be done, and also to write proposals, attract funding, and take up and implement the projects that we come up with. This has brought in a lot of confidence from the financiers that any support that they bring on board, then they are sure it will be implemented. And this has come out very strongly because it has helped us also internally in the organization create around awareness that it is our mandate. We also continuously doing marketing and behavior change approaches in every interventions that we do. This is engaging the stakeholders and basically the customers to find out from them what kind of service do they want from Malindi Water, how do they want it to be, and are they willing to support? And that way we're also able to conduct a willingness to pay study so that when we bring in the sanitation development fee, are they willing to contribute? And they said, yes, as long as the service is reliable, we are going to pay for the service. Another one is effective partnerships with the county government, working very well for us. In the beginning, we did not have this capacity, so we relied a lot from the public health. So we are working very well so that any village that they declare open defecation free, then we come in with market-based sanitation to upgrade and help the beneficiaries climb the ladder, and also for them to understand what is the interventions required from them and their contribution. And then also we have a robust monitoring and evaluation system to track our progress and what we're able to do. So this is just the slide here is a summary. I wouldn't go into details. Maybe during the plenary I can explain further. But we've been able to achieve quite a lot in containment already. We have the ablution blocks and the toilets. We're also having data support and planning. For private sector engagement, we are looking at coming up with public-private partnerships. This is performance-based contracts with the private sector, so they can come and play in and bring in the technology to take up some elements of the sanitation value chain. On waste collection, we've already trialed quite a lot, and we're working on culture change and the sanitation tariff, and we are looking at scaling up the pit emptying to accommodate other modern equipment. And on the waste collection, waste treatment, we've already done the designs, and now we are in construction of the fecal treatment plants. We shall be looking forward to commissioning this and hopefully engaging the private sector to bring in the knowledge. So how have we achieved this is partnerships. We have a strong partnership network of many partners who are bringing in their support. And we have a partnership framework management where we, to avoid duplication from one partner to the other. So when we get a partner on board, we discuss with them, what are you bringing on board and what can it do to feed onto what another partner is doing. If it's something so new, then we sit and see where can it fit in our plan. And this has helped us already start taking off the cake, the big cake of the $95 million so far we're at about 12% already implemented because of these good partnerships that we have had from the private sector, from the development bank, and also from the government. So let me leave it at that. I'll be back for further responses if there are any other questions. Thank you. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Priscilla. Very insightful presentation as well. The progress, really good progress from Malindi there. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of interest in asking questions, in seeking clarity from the group and from the participants. So open for that. In the chat, which I will also refer to. And just to summarize quickly, I feel the two presenters have done really well in unbundling the way that their utilities have worked around sanitation. I think they've touched on all the major issues. They talked about regulatory frameworks. They talked about partnership and relationships that they have fostered to get things done. They talked about technologies across the full service chain. They talked about private sector engagements and the relationships there. They talked about financing mechanisms and models that are existing. I don't know which area they did not touch. I feel that that was a very comprehensive account of how utilities are meant to take on this new responsibility in sanitation. That said, feel free to step up, raise a hand, and fire in questions, open for discussion. You can simply raise a hand. I'll allow you to unmute and also switch on your camera so we know who you are.
However, we already have the first one on chat, if you can find out.
Right. Perfect. Thank you for that, Ajit. So in the chat, I can see something from Pierre. And he says the sanitation success story in Nakuru has been made possible not just by infrastructure, but also by policy, strategy, and multi-sectoral coordination. Can Zaituni speak to the contribution of the Nakuru countrywide sanitation strategy sanitation plan of March 2019 and the multi-sectoral Nakuru countrywide sanitation technical steering committee, NAWASCO, and then also Vida Gazette notice number 13125 volume CXX number 155 published on the 21st of December 2018 in the Kenya Gazette. Wow. Yeah, that's quite a detail on the different policy and strategies at county and national level. Zaituni, can you address that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I actually want to talk about the NAWASCO. That is the Nakuru Countywide Strategic Sanitation Plan. And I am glad at least that policy is known outside there. So in about 2019, we had, with partnership with World Bank, as Nakuru County, the Department of Water and Department of Health was actually came up and brought together all WASH actors within the county and came up with the Nakuru County Strategic Working Committee, which was represented by all departments within the county and all WASH actors. And I must agree that that is actually what has made NAWASCO where it is now. And not only NAWASCO, but Nakuru County as a whole when it comes to sanitation. Because with NAWASCO, all the partners with that policy that was gazetted, all the partners in Nakuru County come in under NAWASCO. Whatever each partner is doing, they work under the guidance of NAWASCO. So that is really very nice that my colleague, whoever it was able to bring it up, because we are actually trying to advocate for all other counties to establish like a strategic committee or a working committee for WASH specifically. And for Nakuru, we've had quite a number of counties coming to learn from us on these kind of policies that have been developed, and all that is through the NACOSTEC, of which the Department of Water and Department of Health took lead.
Thank you for that. And I think that's a very important point that was raised there. We're really looking at how mandates are implemented, how, you know, this strengthening these structures at county level create an enabling environment for coordination, understanding of responsibilities, and accountability as well. I think that's a very important point that was raised there. I would love to invite Mugomi to, I think there's a hand, yes, from Mugomi. You have the floor, you can unmute and we can see your face as well.
Thank you very much. A moment. Okay. Yeah, so my name is Meltas Mugomi from Fresh Life. First of all, I would like to commend Priscilla and Zaituni for doing a great job doing the presentation. I have some questions for them. Probably 3 questions. The first question, maybe they can share. I've heard that there is a lot of support from, of course, the utility and the county government. You know, over the years, the utilities have always been focusing, like what Priscilla said, utilities have majorly been focusing on sewerage and not specifically what we call alternative sanitation. What deliberate action has the utility taken? Like, for instance, are they putting money in their budget to directly go into financing sanitation projects? Same as the Department of the county department that is given the responsibility of sanitation. I would like to hear the experiences on that. Number 2, maybe they can speak to the tariff process that is at WASREV for both utilities. Like for Nakuru, I know that Zaituni has spoken about public engagement. How far is that? Has it been approved? Because it's a very, very good model where, again, where the utilities, I mean, the sort of the people who have sewer are going to be sort of, there's some amount that is going to be built in there. They're going to be put in their sewerage bills to go finance sanitation. So I would really like to know exactly how the regulator is handling that and how far the process is. And then finally is the issue of data. One of the critical issues in this sector has been getting data, especially to understand the sanitation needs, especially in the informal settlements, or what we call the low-income areas. What has their experience been? I've not had really them speaking about how they've navigated. I know Priscilla spoke about mapping out the sanitation areas where they're targeting. How has that been in terms of collecting that data, and what decisions have they been able to come up that have been effective in their operations? Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Mungomi, for that question. I believe we can throw it in for response. I think there were 3 questions, so that's quite a lot of questions. Either one of the 2, Priscilla, Zaituni.
Yes.
Priscilla, please go ahead if you're ready.
Yeah. Very briefly, thank you so much, Meltas. Nice to have you here, and you sharing your the questions with us. Thank you for those good questions. I would wish to quickly just respond, because I know we are running out of time, on whether utilities are putting in finances. Yes, for the first time, we have put in a budget to cover sanitation. Small budget, just about emptying, to support emptying, continuous emptying. We are not interested in doing emptying as a utility as such, but we have been getting into this space to understand what is required, what are the challenges, so that by the time we engage the private sector also regulate the pit emptiers and anyone else getting to this space. As a utility, we have that capacity. So we have put in a budget. Also, for the first time, we have put in money requested for budgetary allocation by the county in the county integrated development plan. We put in quite a lot of money, and Malindi actually was the company that actually gave the budget for that in our Department of Water. We realized that sanitation cuts across health. So we are working very closely also with the Kilifi County Wash Forum, so that even the funds that are being put in the health department, then they can also support the water side in what we are doing in sanitation. For example, some money has been put in to train households on using toilets. We are working very closely with public health that we also participate in that. And we also attach our staff to the public health department so they gain that capacity as well. So budgetary, yes, it could be small to start with, but believe me, it's going to grow. On tariff process, as a utility, we are at the onset. We just done the willingness to pay. We're engaging with the regulator. Nakuru is ahead. They've already done a public participation. I think they have moved even to fill in the templates, but the regulator is also still working on the template. And I think we are in discussion with them that they will use our utilities as the pilots to champion the sanitation development fee. So we are already in discussions with this. And on data, we are happy that we have UN Habitat, and thank you, Piri, for logging in as well. UN Habitat is supporting us on mapping on the sanitation investments and also installations, and also WASREB is also going to support us in this. But as a utility, we're also working with UNICEF. UNICEF is supporting the real-time MIS system, but it's basically on rural sanitation. So how do we capture data in urban? It is a big challenge to capture data on sanitation. And I was speaking in the beginning, I said, even our SDF to just feed into a sanitation, the sheet flow diagram, it was difficult to get good data. But we said, let's begin. So it's a challenge, yes, but slowly, we are putting in structures on how we can collect data. We'll start by mapping so that any interventions that are done, then we are able to track progress. It is very difficult today if I'm asked for by the regulator for any sanitation data. I can easily pull out water data, but not sanitation. But it's because data is collected by different entities. The public health collects, we collect, everyone is collecting. So how can we put all this in one hub such we can all access this kind of data? Thank you. I don't know if Zaitun has something to add.
Yes,
thank you for that, Priscilla. Yes, please go ahead, Zaitun.
Yeah, thank you, Chawe. I think Priscilla has been very precise and mentioned and actually responded, especially on the tariff and about the support that we are getting. I just want to add by saying that the fact that the county has also created that enabling environment is really a big step for us, and especially the NAWASCO, because right now we have the policies, the regulations that are not, it is not just about Nakuru, but it is about the county as a whole. So that enabling environment has really been key for us when it comes to sanitation. And also, I must say that also the regulator has been very, very key on this. Is like WASREB is actually very keen on sanitation. And as Nakuru, we started like presenting our data to WASREB for the sanitation levy. And even before then, we were allocated a budget in a tariff for almost like 3-4 years now, which we have been working with like a pilot. Before now we have the tariff in place, which now we have the tariff has been passed, as Priscilla mentioned, but as it is, already the regulator allocated us a small tariff that we have been working with together with what the partners have been supporting. And also for the first time, I have seen like in the county, the CIDP has been very keen, because even the utilities are also involved in putting in data and whatever resources that is required, especially on sanitation. So looking forward, as much as we've had like the utilities, initially there were no very clear mandates, but currently it is very clear on who does what, and moving forward where the budget for what should be coming from. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. I think, wow, beautiful responses as well. I think this is also very insightful, lessons for other utilities as well across this region. I'm looking at the time, and we are pushing a little bit beyond time. We do have some additional questions. So if people are willing, we can go another 10 minutes to accommodate the one question in the room and maybe respond to a few of the comments in the chat. Thank you. I can see a thumbs up there. Thank you, ladies, again. I will invite Jonathan. He's had his hand up for a while. He can ask his question or give a comment.
Hi, everyone. Thanks ever so much. Very quickly, because in the interest of time, really fascinating presentations. As I put my question in the chat to make it short and succinct, it's very much in relation to the slide presented by Priscilla from MAWASCO. If we could just show that showed very interesting presentation of the different sources of funds, and what I'd like to hear a bit more, Priscilla, if I may, would be how that's changed over time and how you envisage that will change as moving forward into the future, and perhaps if we could hear quickly from Saituni about how that sort of reflects the current situation for NAWASCO. Is that similar or the differences? Thank you.
Thank you. If I could go straight to the answer. I think I didn't get your name, but thank you for the good question. Yes, the slide on blended financing. We're looking at blended financing because we realize as the public, as a utility, we are not able to provide all the resources. And that's one of the reasons utilities have not been embracing sanitation, because it is taken to be high cost, high capital investments and very low returns. And no one has been interested. If utilities are not able to get enough revenue to manage the water side, how will they apply this revenue to the sanitation side? So we have to get creative and innovative on how to get the funding. So that is why, we started with a plan to make it quite attractive, break it down into bankable projects that we can sell to the financiers and funding institutions. And already it has attracted funding. The World Bank has already fed into the real infrastructure, quite a number of interventions across the chain, with the huge interventions and infrastructure contribution on the faecal sludge treatment plant. But then we have other players and actors who have come in to help us operationalize this infrastructure. And that is where they say we're calling blended financing. And also, we know that the households, the community and the residents have a responsibility also to contribute. So the contribution is on construction of household toilets, and also for paying for the services, and also for paying the surcharge or the levy. This is a contribution that we are looking to have on all our customers to contribute towards investment in sanitation. And we are looking at how can we ring fence this investment so that it is used for further development of the chain. For the product sales, this is when the plant, the waste to value plant is complete. There'll be some revenue coming there. So already you can see with very little resources in the utility, we've been able to take up about 12% of the entire funding. And this is by attracting more partners and actors into the space so that each contributes to the funding.
Thank you, Priscilla, for that. Zaituni, would you like to add?
Yes, I just want to add on the say the user fee plus the product sales. For Nakuru, we have since 2018, as I mentioned, we established a subsidiary company that is NAWASCO, and NAWASCO is now a company on its own, but fully owned by NAWASCO, but that is producing briquettes. Briquettes, we've been doing briquettes, which is from faecal sludge. It is actually 50% of sludge and 50% of sawdust. And since then, we have been instead of safe disposal, we are doing a lot of reuse, which we can still, we've been able to sell out to the market and be able to reinvest more. And right now, what NAWASCO, that is the subsidiary company, is doing is we are now coming up with a new product that is the Eco Mizizi seed ball, whereby when we are trying to look at how to have, now that we are all going towards being climate resilient, that is why we are introducing products that are climate friendly.
Okay, thank you for those responses, ladies.
Thank you very much.
I hope that answered your questions.
That was really interesting. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, there are a few more points in the chat, but I will propose at this point that we wind down. And the reason why we should end it here is not only because of time, but we also have Ajit, who has to give us a bit of a closing session for a few minutes there, maybe 2 to 5 minutes. That said, I have taken note of some of the additional questions and comments in the chat. And if you're familiar with, most of you should be familiar with the Susanna Forum, there is a conversation going on there. We announced this beautiful series of webinars on the forum. And so comments that are not addressed here will be shared on that platform. The presentations will be attached there so you can access them. If you have any other comments to add, any other questions, let's continue the conversations there. I'm pretty sure both Priscilla and Zaituni are on that platform, and they will be able to, in addition, answer to your questions. Ajit, you have the floor. Ladies, thank you very much once again for the beautiful engagements.
Thank you. Thank you, Chaiwe, and thank you so much, Priscilla and Zaituni. It was wonderful presentations, and also the nice audience that we have. We've had so many questions, and I'm sad that a lot of them are still not addressed, and we hope to keep them on the conversation going on the forums that we have. But I'll make my part short. We mentioned that this is a webinar series, and we're still making this, organizing this. So I just want to give you an overview on what we have planned for the future. So this was the first webinar where we have looked at Nakuru and Malindi, but we will have the next one coming up in around about a month from now, the same time, same time of the week as well, Wednesday noon. And we will be going to the other side, the western side of Africa, where we will have representatives from ONIA, from Burkina Faso, the national office for responsible for managing sanitation, as well as ONAS from Senegal. And we'll be looking at managing the topic of managing sanitation effectively, where we'll look at 2 models of national utilities from both these countries. We will have the other webinars also in a similar fashion at the same time of the month, mid of the month, and a Wednesday noon. So we will go after finishing the western side. We'll come back to Lusaka and in Kumasi, and we'll be looking at container-based sanitation and working with private service providers in that option. And the later sessions are still under preparation. We are discussing on topics from Nigeria, South Africa, Mali, and Zambia. We still have to narrow it down to the specific speakers, but we'll keep the same format: 1 hour, two presentations at the maximum, and definitely some time for discussions. So can we have the last slide? Yeah, so please reach out to us. There are several ways to stay in touch with us. We have 2. You could join us for the discussion on the Susanna Forum. You have the link to join the Susanna Forum over there. If you're not a member already, please join there as well. And JIVOPA also has got a possibility for engagement for everyone. We have the community of practice for JIVOPA. Please, you have the link on the screen. So if you're a utility, if you're an individual or an institution working in this space, please join us. You could also reach out and get in touch with FSM Alliance by using their toolbox on fecal sludge management, and also join the discussion at the FWASA specialist group. Thank you so much. We'll be sharing the presentations via the forum, also the recording of the session today. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for the amazing speakers and the wonderful moderation, and thank you for being a very active audience today to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.